Hi again, everyone. This is Tony Winston. Thanks for tuning in. Did a video recently on song Spain by Chick Corea, and I'm going to do a little bit more today about that song, and this will be mostly about reading the chart. There's several sections of this song that are pretty challenging to read rhythmically, and let's take this one first. I'll set the metronome here. Now this song is in 2/2 time, but a lot of times when you have something fairly rhythmically complex in 2/2 time, you want to think of it in 4/4 time first, just to figure it out. And that's what I'm going to do right here with the B section. There it is in 4/4 time. Now really, it goes more like this. Okay, and that's feeling it in 2/2 time. And that's really how you have to feel it once you know it. But in order to learn it, let's keep it in 4/4 time right now, and just take a look at the first phrase up here, which is about two measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's just take each measure one at a time. First measure, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Okay, so those second two eighth notes both come on ands. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Next measure, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. That little and on the end is kind of cool. Now the third measure is sometimes a little hard to feel because it's a little more square than the other measures. It's 1, 2 and 3. Easy enough, but after doing that funky part that comes before that, sometimes it's hard to get that exactly right. 1, 2 and 3, 4. Now the next measure, measure 4, we have an eighth note and then a quarter note that's going to come on the and of 1. You say that comes on the and of 1. 1 and is when that quarter note comes in, and you're going to say and 2 because a quarter note equals 2 eighth notes, and that's what you say. 1, 1 and 2 and 3. Now the next note is 2 eighth notes tied together, and you might wonder why they don't just write another quarter note there, and sometimes they do, but a lot of times it's easier to read if you can divide the measure visually in half. And so that's what's done here. The first half of the measure is eighth note, quarter note, eighth note, and the second half of the measure is eighth, eighth, quarter, and then the tie goes across the middle there. It makes it easier to read. Professional musicians usually prefer to see it this way. Okay, so here's measure 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let's do that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, going on to the next 4 measures. We see we have a quarter note and then an eighth rest, eighth note, so that's 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Now I could have said 3 and, but since it's just a quarter note there, I just said 3. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Now you wouldn't want to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and like that. You got to, at least leave the space in time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But for that one quarter note, I could just say 3 and make it, don't rush the count. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Okay, next measure, 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. That's easy enough, but then it's easy to get thrown off on the third measure. So let me do the second measure again, or I'll just do the whole line. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. All right? And really, if you just get it at the slow tempo and start feeling it and kind of memorize what the rhythm is, of course, listening to it is probably the best way to really absorb it. But, you want to be able to count stuff like this too and figure it out on your own. Let's go on to the next part. It's mostly eighth notes, 1 and 2 and, see, that's an eighth rest first. So 1 and 2 and 3 and, is that right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now, it's helpful when you see like tied eighth notes and quarter notes to know if they're on the beat or if they're off the beat. So let's go back up to measure, let's go back up to measure 4 again. We've got this measure right here. Okay, so the first note's an eighth note, but the first quarter note is on the and, so it's on an off beat. Now, quarter notes usually kind of look like they're on the beat, but not always. Sometimes they're not right on a beat. So this one's on the off beat, or the and of 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so there we have the tied eighth note that's also off the beat. And then the last quarter note is right on the beat. So this is a tricky measure. And I guess the measure down below it is kind of the same, where we've got a dotted quarter note, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit about improv again. When I worked on a cruise ship years ago, there was a piano player with the show band, and young guy just out of Berkeley College, I think, and he had a real piano down in his cabin. Now, how he got it down there is a whole nother story, but let's just say this guy practiced a lot. And he had like a little sequencer with a bass line and like a drum part, and he had the song Spain programmed in there, and he would practice improvising on Spain, and basically he would just keep a steady stream of eighth notes going through the entire song. And, I asked him about that, and I said, well, why don't you, chop it up into phrases so it kind of breathes and sounds more natural? And he says, well, the most difficult thing to do is to just keep a line going over the chord changes. So I'm working on that now, and, if I can do that, then it'd be easy to leave some space here and there. And, a couple years later, he was with the Brecker brothers. I didn't know this till years later when I found him on YouTube. And then he went on to produce albums for Chaka Khan. And right now he's writing some scores for an orchestra because Herbie Hancock is going to be with the orchestra. And so he's orchestrating some of Herbie's songs. So practice Spain, practice like eighth notes right over the top of it, and you too can become a success. All right, so it'd be kind of like this. Let's see. Yeah, it says half notes should be set about 96, so. So let's keep some eighth notes going now. So I wasn't entirely successful about keeping the eighth notes going, but that's basically how you do it. And if you want to do it even more rigorously, try just going up and down, eight notes approximately each way. Like if you're on, let's say the 2-5-1 there in D, where it goes like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, know if I did that exactly right, but one thing you can do to practice is take each chord change. In other words, take G major and the next chord, which is F sharp 7th, and just practice, say, one bar of each and have a line that goes smoothly from one to the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and then take a F sharp 7th and have it go to B minor. So I'm going to use the diminished scale on F sharp 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but one area that might be a little more difficult is right there at the end where you've got C sharp 7th and then F sharp 7th. So let's use altered scale on C sharp 7th. That looks like this. And then I'll use the diminished scale on F sharp 7th. So ready, go. So putting 2 or 3 chords together and practicing lines over those. And it doesn't always have to be like the 2, 5, 1. It could be the 5, 1, and whatever comes after that, or something like that. So, you can spend a fair amount of time just working on each little chord change and working on how to smoothly transition from one to the other. So thanks for tuning in, folks. It's always great to see you. And as always, please leave comments or ask questions. And I am hard at work fulfilling your requests. So if there's something you'd like to see, please let me know about it, and we'll check it out. I try really hard not to waste your time, so I edit out all the extraneous bullshit in the videos, and hopefully you'll just watch them for a few minutes, get a good idea, head to the piano or the keyboard, and start practicing and working out your ideas. See you next time.